Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to call to order a special meeting of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners for June 24th, 2022, basically to canvass the vote of the recent election. I would ask Clerk Treasurer Amy Bergens to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Bergens. For the record, we have 4 commissioners that are participating live, and then we are also joined by Commissioner John Ingles that is virtually with us. And thank you for joining us, Mr. Ingles. At this time, we'll go into public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless additional time is granted by the board chairperson. The Board of Commissioners uses timing lights to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. You will see a green light when you begin, and then a yellow light, which indicates that you have 30 seconds left and should conclude your comments. Once the light turns red, we ask you to please sit down. In addition to opening public comment will also be taken on administrative agenda items that are identified for possible action and closing public comment, of which we only have 1 item today on the agenda. So at this time, public comment will be taken for those items that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners. Is there anybody here in chambers who wishes to offer public comment? This is your opportunity to get things on the record. Okay. So anyways, Ms. Johnson, is there anybody online that wishes to offer public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marcia Johnson for the record. At this time, there's no public comment online.
Yay, we'll bring it back then. Okay, so approval agenda for possible action, approval of the proposed agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Noasad, seconded by Commissioner Rice to approve the agenda as presented. Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Administrative item, agenda. The chairperson will read the agenda item into the public record and will have the discretion to determine how the item, well, anyways. For number 1, for possible action, discussion and canvass of returns from the June 14th, 2022 primary election, including entering an abstract of the results in the board's records and ordering the county clerk to certify the abstract, make a copy of the certified abstract, and prepare as well as transmit a mechanized report of the abstract to the Secretary of State in compliance with NRS 293.387. Newly elected Clerk Treasurer Amy Bergens.
Thank you. So I just want to start by just thanking my staff. This was our first election here in Douglas County, and it was a big undertaking, lots of lessons learned, and moving forward, we've got some great ideas. So I just want to thank my staff. I also want to thank the community for their outpouring of support, for the amount of people that volunteered or applied to be election workers. We can't do something like this without those citizens stepping up for the minimal $12 an hour that they get paid and the amount of hours that they put in. So I just want to say thank you to the community as a whole, the election workers, and especially my staff. So from there, I will go into the results of the 2022 primary election. They were uploaded as supplemental yesterday, and you all have a copy. From there, I will ask if there's any questions as to the results.
Commissioners, Commissioner Tarkanian, any questions or comments?
Not right now.
Okay. I have a couple questions. Obviously, it appears that the voter turnout was less than desired. Disappointing, and so I want that to be on the record. I think our residents, citizens are, especially we have a very good percentage of our residents that are registered to vote, which is very encouraging, one of the best in the state, percentage-wise. But it was disappointing that we still achieved less than a 50% turnout. In fact, less than a 45% turnout as it appears countywide. So that's somewhat disappointing to me. Voter integrity is extremely important as we came out of the 2020 election. That was primary throughout not only our community, but throughout the state and the nation. And so how did you feel about that aspect of voter integrity? Were there any issues that you discovered that needed perhaps reference to the Secretary of State of the state of Nevada in that regard? Could you enlighten us in that regard?
Absolutely. Our whole team completely agrees that voter integrity is, of course, the most important part of our job. So we take it very seriously, especially with the fact that, mail ballots went out to every registered voter, yet they could receive multiple ballots based on if they were registered nonpartisan and decided to change to either Republican or Democrat, one of the major parties, they were able to receive ballots for both. So with that said, we do have 11 issues that we are forwarding to the Secretary of State's investigative office. And I have a breakdown just so that people are aware of what those issues were. 5 people voted 2 ballots, 1 nonpartisan and 1 Democrat. Let me back up a little bit. They tried to vote. We accepted the first one that came in, and the second one we obviously did not accept and has been challenged to send over to the Secretary of State's office as a second attempt to vote. So 5 people submitted ballots for nonpartisan and Republican, 2 for nonpartisan and Democrat. 3 of them, all of which were nonpartisan, they submitted a cure. Their signature did not match. They submitted a cure saying they did not vote their mail ballot, and therefore someone else has signed it. Those will be investigated by the Secretary of State's office. And 1 signed their ballot and sent it in, but also noted that they are no longer a resident of Nevada. I have not opened that ballot because I'm waiting for the Secretary of State's office to decide what they want to do with it. So I don't know if the ballot is actually voted inside. However, we did not accept it. So that is a breakdown of the 11 ballots that we will be forwarding to the Secretary of State's office for investigation.
So what I'm understanding in that regard is they came in and they voted nonpartisan and then attempted to change their registration and then vote a second time for the other party that they changed their registration to. Is that what the attempt was?
So majority of the time it was they were already registered as nonpartisan, but when they got the ballot and they saw that there were only 2 races that they were eligible to vote in, they came in and updated their voter registration to a major party and then received a new mail ballot. And instead of just returning the mail ballot, the updated one, they returned both of them. So these were all done via mail. There were a couple of attempts that I'm aware of people that had mailed in ballots previous to the election and then came in on election day and wanted to vote the rest of their ballot, not understanding that they had voted their whole ballot. Nonpartisan only had those 2 races. So I think there's a bit of confusion, and that's one of the things that we are really hoping to improve upon in the next primary in 2024, is that if you are a minor party or nonpartisan, your races are limited. However, I will say, just since we're on this, let me find the right spreadsheet. So during the early voting and election day, we had a total of 196 voter registration updates, and those updates, I would say, the majority of them were updating their party affiliation. So those were done in person at the either early voting or at the election day vote centers. So 172 of those changed their party to Republican, 20 to Democrat, and 4 were nonpartisan or minor parties.
Now, this is the first election that we've run since the legislature had their new rules in the 2021 legislative session. One of the questions I have in that regard is we allow, you can take in mail-in ballots up until receiving the mail on Saturday after the election, as long as they're postmarked on election day. Now, if those ballots come in, Ms. Bergens, and they have an illegible signature or no signature whatsoever, and you can't take an opportunity to, and then in order to cure a ballot, I believe it has to be done by the Monday, this last Monday. So the opportunity for you and your office to react to votes that come in illegible or without a signature and cure those ballots by Monday is slim and none, because you have no way of putting anything in the mail to the folks, and if you can't reach out to them and get them in on Monday, then basically they've lost their opportunity to vote. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement. Just a little bit of information to support that, and this is also part of the voter education that we hope to provide prior to the general election. So prior to the end of early voting, we had received 7,541 mail ballots. So that means that on election day through the Saturday after, most of which we received on election day, we received about 6,282. We cannot process those right then. It's a process that we have to batch them, then signature verify them. It takes us days to do that. And then receiving mail up through Saturday, which mail does, by the time we get them and look at them, it's too late for people to cure them. So you are correct. If the signature doesn't match, if they forgot to sign it, or we had a ton of husband and wives that signed the wrong ballot, they signed for their spouse. So if we don't have a phone number or email address on file for the person, the only option we have is to mail them a letter. And we mailed letters on Monday knowing that they wouldn't give them because it's the law. We had to. So we had of the mail ballots that were returned to us, we had 130 that needed curing. So either they didn't sign it or they signed it for their spouse, which we knew, but we still can't accept them. We still have to reach out to them. Or their signature was not accepted. Of those, we only successfully cured 61, which left 69 people that mailed a ballot and thought they were doing the right thing, and unfortunately we did not get a hold of them and they did not respond in time, and their vote did not count. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's a lot of education that we need to get out to the public.
Well, it's also looking and not being involved previously themselves in the election process, not understanding that it's having any impact, and so I would hope that you can take the opportunity in the next legislative session, and I know you will. I'm confident you will, come January or February when the state legislature goes back into session, of trying to correct unintended consequences and this state accommodate and have a clean election, so to speak, and one that the citizens can come to trust. So
I would say we're not even waiting until the legislative session starts.
Okay.
There's already conversations with the Secretary of State's office and the other clerks, with myself and newly new candidates that have been elected to represent certain parties for the legislature and assembly. These are all conversations that we've all been having already. This is new for Nevada, and it's a new process. There's a lot of cleanup. The Secretary of State's office has done amazing cleanup with the NAC, but we are aware that there's more that needs to be done. So those conversations are already being had.
Thank you. And some of my questions raise other questions. So Commissioner Tarkanian.
I have a lot of concerns about the voter integrity in this last election, particularly as it applied to the congressional race. My campaign, we hired an investigator, they created a dossier, and they disclosed that there was Russia collusion between my opponent and in this race, and we had the evidence, except my opponent smashed his telephones with a hammer, and then he bleached his emails, if you could believe that. Incredible. But we know it happened because if you looked at all the Facebook posts where these anonymous people were saying that I was a really bad guy. Now, you guys all know I'm not a bad guy. It had to be Russia disinformation that created all that. That being said, I'm not standing by and letting this go unheard of. Slate of electors to the Secretary of State's office, and I got a copy for you here, Amy. And I want the FBI to know I'm not turning over my cell phones. I don't care if they subpoena me or not. And I just need to get Mueller's phone number so we can get an investigation on all this. I had to combine a couple of the things that are going on.
Touche. We will allow sarcasm in this meeting. I'm glad that you read chapter 3 of my book.
You have to have levity in a loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Noah.
Now, this is not on the, measure up to his act over here. Do we have any place, are there any places in the county that ballots can be deposited?
Absolutely, and so the historic courthouse here, we take them the whole time. As soon as we mail them out, we put a drop box in the office downstairs for people to start dropping them off. We also have Dropbox locations where we move around. It's a bipartisan team that goes from Town of Genoa Town Hall, Sunridge Fire Station, TRE. They go throughout up at Kale. They go throughout the county. It was. I believe that the sample ballot was confusing to a lot of people. They showed up thinking that they could vote in person at those places during early voting. That has been a huge issue for my staff. We have already started redoing what the sample ballot is going to look like to be a lot clearer. A lot of people showed up here at the historic courthouse thinking that they could vote in person like we did back in 2016. However, we do not have voting machines here. There were a lot of lessons learned. So, but yes, we do have Dropbox locations with bipartisan teams throughout the county at different times, dates, locations, and we will try and make that as clear as possible on the next sample ballot so people know where to go and when.
Follow-on question, excuse me. Follow-on question that is, are these drop boxes monitored?
Absolutely. So we do 3 hours, 10 to 1 or 3 to 6 at each location throughout various places. And they are monitored by a bipartisan team that works for the clerk treasurer's office. So we send them, they stand with it the whole time. They answer questions. They are there monitoring it the whole time, and they bring them back and put them into our election office, which is secure.
And the last question is, can the ballots be dropped into those boxes outside of the hours you mentioned?
No. So we don't ever have time where they are unmanned. We do not have a box outside that we leave unattended. Every drop box is, like I said, bipartisan team the whole time that it is available or has ballots in it. Other than that, they are in a secure room under lock and key.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ingalls, do you have questions for Ms. Bergens? No? Okay, very good, thank you. Commissioner Rice has indicated he has no questions either, so I will entertain a motion to approve the canvass of the votes.
Mark, I think we need to do public comment first.
Thank you.
Chairman Gardner, I
Thank you.
apologize.
Thank you for correcting me on that. You're right. Is there anybody here in chambers that wishes to offer public comment? Sensing none, do we have anybody online, Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marcia Johnson for the record. At this time, there's no public comment online.
Then we'll bring it back to the board at this time for a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Noasad, seconded by Commissioner Rice. Okay, seconded by Commissioner Rice to approve the canvass of returns of ballots from the June 14, 2022 primary election, including entering an abstract of the results in the board's records, ordering the county clerk to certify the abstract, make a copy of the certified abstract, and prepare as well as transmit a mechanized report of the abstract to the Secretary of State in compliance with NRS 293.387. Since no further discussion, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0 at this time. Thank you very much, Mr. Bergens. Please thank your staff. An incredible job. I heard very, very, very few complaints. Actually, the only complaint that I really heard was they got in line or tried to get in line at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, and that was too late. So, shame on them. So, anyways, thank you once again, and congratulations on your election. So, at this time, we'll go to closing public comment. Public comment will be taken on those items that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of Commissioners, or those agenda items where public comment has not already been taken. So since no comments here in chambers, is there any public comment available online? Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marcia Johnson for the record. At this time, there's no public comment online.
We'll bring it back to the board, and at this time, since there's no other action, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, and see you on Monday for the special meeting at 4 o'clock also.